Hey, everybody. This is Patti. Welcome to the Witching Hour. We have a pretty amazing guest for you today. I just met her a couple weeks ago in Scottsdale, Arizona. She's an elite empower coach. Welcome, Wendy Kleinfeld. Thanks so much for coming on my show.
Thank you so much, Patty, for having me. It is such a pleasure. It was really great to meet you a few weeks ago, and I'm so glad I'm here and we're doing this now.
I know, me too. So, anybody who doesn't know, you tell everybody a little bit about what it is you do?
Yeah, so I'm an elite empower coach, and you probably hear it, you go, "What is that really?" So what I do is I provide luxury one-on-one coaching, primarily for women entrepreneurs who are building successful businesses and are trying to juggle success, life, themselves, and as we know, a lot of women overextend. We love to serve and we keep going and going and we think we can do it all. So I really help these women to slow down, to be able to build a life of their design so that they're thriving and not just surviving. Many of them are still in survival mode, even though they're maybe making millions of dollars. So that's what I'm here to do. And I do it through the vehicle of leadership mindset as well as fitness and nutrition transformation.
That is beautiful because we all need fitness to get our physical body needs to line up. So you
Absolutely.
do work with powerful, high achieving women, as you said, and they're often overexhausted, overextended.
Yes.
What is the first mindset shift that you recommend to reclaim your power and vitality for people?
So I think, what's really interesting, what I observed with a lot of successful and high achieving women is that they are probably the last people on earth to admit that they'll need help. And a lot of times it's not because they're unwilling to self-reflect, but because they oftentimes feel like because they've done it all to get to where they are, they feel like that's how they have to continue their success. And I'm sure some of your listeners are moms, and I kind of have that same similar story where, I came from the corporate background, which is a very different world. But, I was in a world that I felt competitive, I felt ambitious, I was trying to climb the ladder. And then I also became a mom. And so that became a whole new world for me. And so I was trying to juggle being a really great career woman while also trying to be a good mom and also trying to recover as a person. So, as a lot of mothers know, that once you have a baby, your world just changes completely for better and for worse, right? You might be dealing with some postpartum, mental health issues. You're dealing with just like not recognizing your body, and you're dealing with this new schedule, this new life responsibility that now you have to take care of and nourish. And all of a sudden you're thinking, well, I got to do it all. I'm going to continue to do it all. And and it took me a while to realize, oh, I gotta stop. I have to stop doing what I was doing. And that took a really long time, actually. Like you would think that the first sign of, fatigue or whatever, that I'll be like, oh yeah, I need to change something. No, because my habit, my learned behavior was, oh, something's difficult. That means I gotta work harder. That means I gotta push harder. And so I think oftentimes that relief of going from I gotta do it all and I can do it all to I actually need help, that's probably the biggest shift that they need to take. But once they get there, they have to really let themselves be vulnerable. They have to let go of the idea that they need to be perfect, that they need to appear powerful all the time. Many of them confuse power with perfection. When I think there's a lot of power in vulnerability, in saying, yeah, there are some things I'm not good at. And in fact, here's some things I'm really struggling with. It takes a lot of vulnerability to admit that. And for women who have had to build their success from ground up and had to rely on themselves for much of their achievement, that's a really hard step to take.
Right. Versus not regular people, but like people who just kind of live life and let it go. It's
Yeah.
different when you become that high in power. I know. Okay, here's another thing that I really like. You use the word sexy as part of your coaching outcome.
Yes.
How how do you define sexy in this context? What does the
Yeah.
energy mean for women like, stepping into their fullest selves or service?
I love this question. And I'm so glad we're talking about it because I I firmly believe that we as women need to reclaim what sexiness feels to us. And, A lot of us women, the way we grow up, the messages we were gotten from just around us was you have to be very attractive, you have to appear sexy, but you cannot look like you're trying to be. And oftentimes people confuse sexy with being sexual. And I just want my audience to know that that is not what I'm talking about right now. To me, sexy has nothing to do with sex. To me, it is the epitome of a woman who knows her worth, who is self assured, and her confidence on the outside comes from those places. When you meet a woman who feels like she has nothing to prove, who does not seek validation, walks around with her head held high, and just knows from a core that she is worth and deserves all the goodness that comes to her, that kind of energy is magnetic. That kind of energy, when you meet that person, you're like, I don't know what it is, but they're sexy. It's, I think the woman who can fully claim their feminine energy, but still is also very aligned to their truth, whatever that may be. It could be, I want to build a small business that really nourishes my heart, or it could be, I want to build an empire and change the world. Whatever that is, you're not apologetic. You're assured, you know you're worth it, and your confidence that others see. Confidence is external, self-worth internal. The confidence that people see comes from that place. That to me is sexy.
That is sexy. I agree wholeheartedly. Okay, next, you talk about alignment with self. For
Yeah.
my beautiful magical listeners, that sounds a bit like soul alignment or a spiritual embodiment. Can you share how you guide clients into discovering their true purpose or identity?
Yeah, so I love asking. So there are two different questions I ask. Well, and of course, they're big questions because as people start telling me, I go deeper and deeper with more questions. But at the high level, here's two ways to ask about it. One is, what are your values? And now people might hear values and then they think different things. So I try to break it down. Okay, what are some things that are really, really important to you? Like let's not worry about the words and how you label it. What are some of the things in your life that you really hold true, regardless of whether you're at work or at home with friends? What are some of those principles? What are some of those guiding um, principles and values that you hold true that are really important to you? For some people, it's community. For some people, it's innovation. For me, I worked on figuring out one of my values, and actually, this past year, I added another one to my top list, which is beauty. I value beauty. I want things to look beautiful around me. When I'm surrounded by beauty and nature, I feel energized. And so, again, back to the sexy thing, we're taught not to value beauty, but still at the same time exude beauty. It's a very, it's a weird tightrope we're walking on. So, so I ask clients, what is it that you really, really value? What is it that's really important to you? What are your non-negotiables? Meaning, if you're in a situation and let's say you really value autonomy, being able to make your decisions, being able to move, and you get yourself in a situation where you're finding that you don't have as much autonomy, you'll feel something in your body, whether it's your gut tightening, it's your heart tightening, something will happen, whether it's, if you are in tune with your body responses, you will feel that. And that was the first time that you are out of value, you're out of alignment. Another question I ask people is the deathbed question or the legacy question. So let's say you're on your deathbed and you're surrounded by the people you want to be there. And what do you want them to remember you for? What do you want them to say about you after you leave? And this is not about ego. This is about the kind of impact you want to leave behind. And to me, that's a big North Star that you can look, you can work backwards from, right? So for me, when I leave, I want to know that I have changed the lives of countless women, that on the individual level, on the more mass level, that have impacted them in ways where I could say, you know what, I fulfilled my purpose on this earth. And so that means I work backwards. Okay, what are some of the actions? How do I surround myself with people? How do I put myself in situations where it aligns me toward that type of legacy, towards that type of impact? So that's what I mean by aligning to yourself.
It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. You do take a holistic approach, mindset, fitness, nutrition, routines.
Yes.
What do most women struggle with the most? And how do you help them break through that, whatever their issue is?
Uh, the hardest thing is just mindset. The hardest thing is mindset. For example, in the beginning, when I just wanted to work with women on their nutrition and fitness side, I realized really quickly that it wasn't that they didn't trust me enough to follow along the plan. A lot of times it was what they were telling themselves here that was stopping them from following the plan. And that's why I realized, oh, it's not enough that I just help them on fitness side. I gotta add in the mindset piece. The mindset piece is huge. A lot of times your mindset could be the difference between you taking action and you finding excuse of why you couldn't take an action. So this is why I take a very kind of direct but compassionate approach. And I call it radical accountability, which is, first of all, you have to take full accountability with how you talk to yourself, how you view uh, cer- your relationship with the environment, how you make decisions. So, for example, a common thing I hear from a lot of women is, well, I have a job that's really demanding, something came up, or something happened with my child. And look, I get it, I'm a mom too. Things happen. And then they say, well, and I had this plan to either go to the gym or I have this plan to do XYZ. And then I couldn't do it because all these other things started to happen. And then I can't do it. And so I have to look at them and say, okay, given that, what do you decide to choose in that moment? It's not about, oh, I'm a victim of my circumstance and I couldn't do something. It's something else came up that's a priority, which means now I have another opportunity to reassess what do I prioritize in this situation? If it's a client, well, yeah, this is important. So I need to prioritize that. And what does that mean? That means you don't say, well, this happened and I couldn't do it. You have to learn to talk to yourself from a power standpoint, which is something happened that was the priority, and I chose to prioritize this.
That's beautiful.
Only your decision that you didn't do something. Like I'm not like I tell them, I'm not a decision police. I'm not at the end of the day, I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. But you have to own it. If you didn't make it to the gym, if you didn't do something for yourself or some other person, don't say, oh, I just can't do it because this and this happened. It's I chose to prioritize something over another, so I chose not to do this today. Not that it's not important, but this is how I'm going to work, or it's knowing how to work around it, right? So if you know you have a certain schedule of routine that looks a certain way, okay, let's look at how do you own your time. We are not powerless to our time. You own your time. How are you budgeting your time? How do you make decisions around where do you spend your energy? Where do you put your resources? Again, at the end of the day, I want them to know you have to own it all, good or bad. It doesn't mean it's your fault, but you have to own that decision. And then once you can own the decision, that shift in mindset automatically puts you in a power position of saying, you know what, if this is really important to me, I'm going to design my life to improve this because that's what I prioritize. That's what I choose. I no longer am going to sit here and say I couldn't do something because something else happened.
Right, because I couldn't. You taking complete power back versus
Yeah.
the victim. Because when you victim, you've given away all your power. That is beautifully my belief system. Exactly, just so much better stated. Okay, okay. You have lived in 4 countries across 3 continents. Has your global experience shaped your view of success, power, and feminine leadership?
Yeah. So to me, I think the number one thing that's really taught me is that I feel very lucky to be able to have experience there firsthand is just understanding that everyone's life is different. And just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong. I know that sounds very simple, but when you look at how people judge each other, it's all rooted in the story that there's what we're doing is the right way and to see what someone else is doing is not the right way. Just like I told a story to a friend once that, I grew up eating a lot of different things within the Chinese cuisine. And when I first moved to the United States, you know what dish I found really weird? Mac and cheese. Now, mac and cheese is a staple, right? Like every child knows it's what you give to little kids because it's easy, it's tasty. And I thought it was the strangest thing that you could eat. Because
Mhm.
again, based on how I grew up, based on my experiences around food and cuisine, to me, that was just very, very foreign. Now, at first, I was like, that is just, I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But if you can understand that every single person may have a different cultural experience or have a different story that they grew up with, you'll understand that you're not necessarily arguing each other over who's right or wrong. You're just coming with different backgrounds. And so I think that gives me a greater sense of empathy. And it also bridges the gap a little faster. So if I am talking to somebody from a different country or with a different background, it doesn't take me a long time to have to like learn about why they do certain things. I just automatically have that base knowledge that, oh, they come from culture maybe where there's certain practices. So I just need to be conscious of that, aware of that, ask questions that maybe that would be relevant to maybe a practice that is, very specific to them. So I think in some ways it's a quicker bridge of connection for me.
I think that's beautiful. Okay, you had just said radical accountability, and I know you mentioned no more self-sabotage. What does that look like in your coaching container? How do you help women shift out of that victim mentality? So it's like it's mindset, as you say, but
Yeah.
sometimes easier said than done.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard. It does take a while, which is why I don't I don't do short-term coaching. A lot of people are looking for the short fixes or the quick fixes. And the thing is, we've lived years learning how to become victims. And so it's not going to be an hour of coaching or, a 1 hour podcast that you consume and then all of a sudden you're a different person. So if you think about how long it took you to become, in that victim mindset, you have to allow the process to just take place. You have to allow time, and which means don't seek perfection. So there's some things that you can do to pull yourself out of the victim. Maybe it's just the way you talk to yourself. So I have people journal. I have people journal out how they talk to themselves, their story about themselves. And then we go through that and then we go through the mindset and the stories they have as they were journaling. And then I know that sounds like a simplistic activity, but trust me, it's very, very powerful when you can write down all the things that you think have been in your unconscious, but now you're just writing them out and you realize, oh, I really believe that I don't deserve something, or I believe I'm not good enough. And I don't actually think this, that if I'm journaling, that's unfolding. And so once people write that down, I work with them to say, okay, what is the ultimate story? What is the ideal version of you? What is the version you're trying to become? And let's link that to a bigger goal, bigger vision. If your vision is that you want to raise a really beautiful family, or your vision is I want to find the ideal partner, or I want to build a global empire of a business, okay, so then what is the version of you that is going to do that? And so it's then taking small steps towards it. It's not going to be overnight. And there will be times where you'll, slide back. And as we all know, progress is not a linear path. Progress kind of looks like a messy graph, right? And just accepting yourself in that process, that part is can be really hard because, again, we're conditioned to be perfect. And so if we mess up and say, oops, I forgot to do this, see, I knew it, I couldn't do it, it's not for me. You have to trust. You have to have the discipline. And to me, discipline just means that just being consistent with it, even when you don't feel like it. Consistent with it, even when you don't see the results right away. But just go with it. And once you let yourself actually just trust the process, little by little, you'll start noticing that, oh, I actually pause now before I react in a conversation. I actually consider my own needs when I'm in a conflict, and I don't just acquiesce and people please. You'll start noticing the small changes. You'll be more reflective, which means that you allow yourself the time to pause and think about how to be more intentional. And when you are more intentional, you are moving out of the victim state.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Okay, so you say life of your design. What does a life of your design really mean to you? Or how can somebody take those
Yeah,
first take steps to start creating it? Like, I want to live that. What is that?
yeah. I think we all, and I could commonly say all, because I think we all think that there's a certain way we need to live life. But if you pause and think, that's it, right? Who told you that you need to live life in this way? Now, I am somebody who grew up being taught by my school, my parents, that I go to school, get really good grades, go to college, get an advanced degree, get a really big job, make good money, have a family, continue that big job, and then just peacefully live that way until I die.
Hmm.
That was taught to me as that's the ideal life. If you got that, you're successful, you'll be good, you'll be happy. And but maybe that's not the path for you. Not that being happy isn't the path, but maybe that's just not how you want to live out your life, not how you want to explore joy. And living a life of your design to me just means that you just charter your own path. Like a lot of us think that when we were born, that we're all given the script of how you should be successful, how you should live life. And we're given the script thinking that this script is written in stone. But the thing is, you can write your own script. Like you may not have had control over how you were brought up and the messages you received as a young adult or whatever. But now, whether you are 20, 40, or 60 or 70, now can still be the time where you say, I actually want to write out what the next chapter looks like. Even if that next chapter is only 24 hours, you have that control. And to me, if I could lead this life, having people feeling empowered and taking control of their life and saying, you know what? I don't need to be an accountant just because my parents told me to. Maybe my passion is art. And that's what I'm going to pursue. It's like, yeah, no one ever stopped you. Like you can write that script for yourself. And also, happiness doesn't mean that you get your family with a picket fence and live in a suburb. That's not happiness for everybody. That's one way of life. For you, maybe it's globetrotting, making friends all over the world, and then writing books about it. Maybe that's for you. And maybe for somebody else, it's trying to, solve global issues. And that is their way of living their life in a way that they feel is meaningful. So to me, it's all about, again, living the line into you. What do you feel like is joy to you? What do you feel like will bring you purpose and will bring you meaning? Define a life that leads you to that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, now you mentioned, and your clients are like high net worth entrepreneurs. But do these principles apply to women at any level or success or income? I've got a lot of young girls just starting
Yeah,
out who's like, I'm not an entrepreneur yet. Yeah, I'm not there.
absolutely. Absolutely. I do think it does. It can apply to many people. The reason why I do focus on a lot of women who are kind of in their late 30s and up, it's because, again, I'm trying to be relatable to the people I work with as well. And there's a certain mindset level that a lot of women entrepreneurs have that I think is very powerful in a mindset shift gain, if you will. And not that younger women can be part of it, but I think there's something to be said about living life a little bit, having these in life experiences that I think coaching just cannot replace. Now, it doesn't mean that, it wouldn't apply. It just means I think for a lot of folks, sometimes it's just maybe you haven't experienced what you needed to get to the stage of change.
Right. Okay, thank you. I must I must say that to me there is something sacred about a woman reclaiming her body and her power. Do you see your work as a kind of modern day empowerment ritual of sorts?
I ultimately I would love it to be that way. I think I'm trying to build my practice one brick at a time. And right now it is serving, women entrepreneurs and just gain their power back. And so they're not being crushed by their own success. But I do want to expand that in the future because, like you said, there's something really sacred about women
Yeah.
owning back their own power in their body. And there's so many elements to that, and not just with mindset and not just with business and relationships, but there's many other elements. And I would love to definitely explore that in the future. And that is part of my goal too, is that again, wanting to be holistic, right? I can't solve it all right now, but let me lay the foundation. And yes, that's ultimately my goal is that it's a modern day kind of transformative empowerment for women.
Yeah. Beautiful and so needed right now more than ever. I mean, it always is needed. Okay, last big question. Then I have some stuff. What are your daily non-negotiables? The things that you do to stay, whether to stay grounded or to stay energized or aligned. Is there any magical or spiritual practices worn into that? Is it mindset or psychology? What are your non-negotiables?
So I make sure that I walk every day. I don't work out every day. So for people out there wondering if they need to be working out every day, you don't. But you do need to move your body every day. And I think it's important to move your body because I think it does connect you to the present a little more, especially if you're taking a walk. Next time you do take a walk, even if it's 10 minutes, just take the time to be present with the walk that you're in. Whether you use that time to almost visualize or use that as a walking meditation, but that's a time when you are with you in your body and your mind. So I try to honor time to take walks every day. And because that I consider that as like me time, like peace time, right? When nothing's coming at me and it's just me with me. So there's three priorities I have right now in life, and I make sure that we get hit in some way every day. One is business and work. So I do something related to work every day that propels it forward. Family, obviously, I have a 4-year-old. So, she automatically is, in the top three of life. And so I do, I spend time with her every day. And for a lot of moms who know this, when you are a working mom, whether you have a job or you are an entrepreneur and a business owner, whatever time you have in the day, you kind of have to minus at least 6 hours because that's just what's needed. And so I just say, okay, well, if that's what it takes, then that's what it takes. And so I give my daughter time, whether that's spending time with her or having her go with me to the gym, another way for us to kind of spend some time together. Uh, or I spend time with her when she goes to sleep. And then the third piece is fitness. Fitness is really important to me as a bodybuilder. And of course, it's permanent practice that if you don't move your body and if you don't build your body, strengthen your body, you can't strengthen your mind. And so in the days when I do go to the gym, I'm very intentional about how I do it. I don't just go in and, just kind of like mindlessly work out and leave. I'm there, I'm intentional. I'm in tune with my body in almost kind of a meditative way where in bodybuilding, they call it a mind muscle connection. So every rep, every exercise is done imagining the muscle being worked and how that's done. So that's an intentional practice. So those are the three, right? Business, family, and fitness. And every day I make sure that even if it's half an hour, I have some me time where it's just me with me.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly, and I do walk every day as well, no matter how busy I am, no matter how when I have to get up. That is amazing. Um, okay, so here's a funny little question. I've just
Okay.
started doing a little wrap around. So, do you have a go-to power outfit or color that means
Mhm.
power to you?
I love that question because, again, as somebody who I think I do have a creative brain, so my company is called Purple Tiger for a reason. I love purple. Purple's my favorite color. And so when I need to show up more powerfully, I do have like a full purple satin suit. I'm curating, of course, as somebody who self-identifies as a girly girl, I'm always curating my wardrobe. And so, but yeah, I love outfits that really speak for themselves more so than, just being an outfit. And yeah, but yeah, definitely purple. Purple is my go-to color.
It's a good one. It's one of my top 3. T top
Yeah.
2 actually. So, last little question. Oh no, 2 less.
Okay.
Is there something that actually makes you feel truly alive?
Ooh. Yeah, there's many, many moments where I feel truly alive. I feel that in many areas of life, I would say. So right now, because I'm so focused on those three that I talked about, which is business, family, and fitness, there are moments when something clicks, let's say at the gym, and a movement feels really good and the weight feels good. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh, that felt so good. I feel strong. I look in the mirror and in some ways, I know it sounds a little like narcissistic, but it's part of the whole bodybuilding process where you look at the mirror and you're like, yeah, I can see my muscles and they're being built and I'm just really proud of myself. Or it's with my family and, right now, like my 4-year-old is like just growing like crazy and she's saying new things. And so when I spend time with my family and we're doing something really fun, it's like, I can sit and have a moment and say, you know what, this is it. This is it. This is peace. This is joy. And and then the adrenaline that comes in sometimes with business, it's like, yeah, like Whether it's like being with other powerful women and then we're syncing up and, like it's almost like a brain meld where we're talking the same language. And yeah, I get a lot of energy from other very, very, just very grounded women who know what they're doing. And it has nothing to do with how much they make, but just women who are very tuned
Yeah.
with, and very aligned. Like that gives me a lot of energy. So, um, I love music. So for me, when I express my vitality or just my sense of like excitement, good music to me is like, oh my gosh, it's like the soundtrack to life is how I would call it.
Good. That is perfect. Me too on that one. Okay,
Yeah.
very, very last question. And then I'm going to have you tell people where they can find you if they need
Yeah.
this coaching and your information. Okay. If you could give every woman one gift, every woman, what would it be?
I would give every single woman this deep, it's not necessarily tangible, but just this deep, deep knowledge that they are a goddess. I think most women don't understand the power they hold. Um, for many, many reasons. Many of them don't come to their own power, and many of them don't believe they have power. But if I could give that to every single woman, and if they woke up one day and realized, I hold so much power, I'm a goddess, right? And this is not necessarily power to dominate, but it's like power to create, power to make decisions, to be autonomous, to impact others, because women are so community focused.
Yeah.
I think that the power that can come from every single woman are waking up realizing that I can live with change the world immediately.
I agree full-heartedly. This has been so insightful and so good. So now that everybody listening or watching or both are going, oh my God, who is she? Where do I find her? Tell everybody where they can find you, websites, even
Yeah,
social media.
absolutely. So I make it very, very easy. My Instagram handle is Purple Tiger Fitness. My website is purpletigerfitness.com. And you can email me or you can DM me on Instagram. You can email me, Wendy at purpletigerfitness.com. So I try to make it super easy so you can find me.
There's that purple. So thank you so much, Wendy, for bringing your beautiful and very empowering magic to the witching hour.
Thank you, Patty. Thank you for these beautiful questions, these thoughtful questions, and thank you for having me and having this platform to share your magic.
Thank you. My honor. You guys check her out. She's great.